Let me share a truth that most men never hear. Women don't pull away simply because you are too distant, too detached, or too unavailable. The real reason is far more subtle and far more important. Women pull away when they realize they've gained access to parts of you they haven't earned. You offered too much trust, too much forgiveness, too much effort, too much of your future without limits. And before you even notice it, she senses the imbalance. Interest doesn't vanish randomly. It fades when a woman recognizes that you are more invested in her than you are in yourself. If you've ever felt blindsided by a sudden change, her distance, fading affection, or diminishing respect, there's a reason. You crossed invisible lines you didn't even know existed. And in this video, I'm breaking down the 10 things a man must never do for a woman to prevent the silent sabotage of his own value. These are patterns I've observed in thousands of men, smart, capable, genuinely good men, who still end up losing respect in their relationships simply because nobody taught them how boundaries really work. Here's what you need to understand: women aren't confused. They respond to structure, to certainty, and to a man who knows his worth. When you fail to provide that, relationships follow a predictable downward slope. What I'm about to share is the exact framework I've used to help men reclaim their confidence and reshape their relationship dynamics. If you want that same clarity, hit like, subscribe, and write in the comments, "I'm ready to lead my life again." Speak it aloud. Your mind needs to hear it. Because the transformation starts here. Number one, never forgive cheating twice. A betrayal is not a mistake, it's a choice. When a woman crosses that line, she made a conscious decision, and no amount of tears or promises will erase her awareness of your response. When you forgive her again, you send a crystal clear message. Your boundaries are negotiable, your self respect is optional. Women evaluate a man not by his compliments or his affection, but by his standards. Accepting repeated infidelity signals weakness and reshapes her perception of your value. A woman is not drawn to someone disposable. She's drawn to a man who safeguards his dignity without hesitation. Forgive once, not twice. Draw the line clearly, calmly, and without drama. This is how a man keeps his power. Number two, never ask for permission to live your life. There's a big difference between communicating your plans and seeking approval. Too many men confuse the two, and the moment you defer your choices to her, the dynamic shifts. Women respect men who act, who decide, and who lead their own lives. Hesitating to accept opportunities, take trips, or make social plans without her consent signals submission. When you allow her to answer on your behalf, speak for you in public, or influence your choices excessively, you're seen not as a partner, but as someone who follows. A man who communicates decisions rather than requesting approval demonstrates steadiness and confidence, qualities that create space for a woman to relax and trust. Number three, never go broke for validation. Many men fall into this trap, spending money to impress, to gain attention, to buy affection that was never earned. Overspending doesn't build attraction, it builds dependency and undermines your stability. Women don't admire a man who lives beyond his means, they question his judgment. Confidence, direction, and consistency outweigh flashy displays of wealth every time. When you train her to associate your value with gifts and financial displays, you're setting up a dynamic where your worth is conditional, unstable, and easily devalued. Stability is magnetic, debt and desperation are not. The truth is simple: women are drawn to men who lead themselves first, men who enforce their boundaries, men who act with certainty, and men who protect their time, energy, and dignity. When you overextend, defer, or compromise your principles to please her, you unintentionally signal the opposite. You signal that your needs are secondary, that your value is negotiable, and that your sense of self can be overridden. And when that happens, interest wanes, respect erodes, and the emotional connection you thought was strong begins to crumble. In this video, we're not talking about manipulation or cold heartedness. We're talking about clarity, self respect, and the fundamentals of attraction that women instinctively recognize. Every man deserves a relationship in which his value is preserved, not one where it's slowly chipped away. And the first step is recognizing the mistakes that silently destroy it, forgiving betrayal repeatedly, surrendering your life choices, and overinvesting financially for the wrong reasons. These are the invisible drains that sap respect, power, and attraction. By understanding these principles, you create a framework not just for dating, but for life. You enforce boundaries calmly, make decisions confidently, and invest in ways that reinforce your value rather than diminish it. The outcome? A relationship where mutual respect, genuine admiration, and emotional connection thrive, not one where you are endlessly giving without return. If you commit to this path, to understanding and enforcing these 10 key boundaries, you reclaim control over your life and your relationships. You stop giving away what should be protected. You step into a space where a woman can relax and respect your authority naturally. And that ultimately is the secret to being a man who is not only attractive but unshakable. You become the source of experiences, not the source of strength. The moment you can't maintain that pace, the dynamic shifts. Excitement fades, pressure rises, and you realize you trained her to see you as a provider she never earned. A man protects his finances the same way he protects his time, energy, and boundaries with discipline. You invest in yourself first, your stability, your education, your growth, your foundation. When a woman respects you, she respects the structure of your life as a whole. When she only respects your wallet, you are always one missed paycheck away from losing her interest. Here's a truth most men avoid facing: if you have to spend heavily to be noticed, you were never truly chosen. You were purchased. And purchases are temporary. Attraction and respect don't come from gifts, trips, or over the top gestures. They come from the way you command your life, stand by your principles, and honor your own value. Number 4, never allow her to micromanage your life. Control in relationships never arrives all at once. It seeps in quietly, almost imperceptibly, requests that seem reasonable, check ins that appear caring, small demands disguised as concern. Before you realize it, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in a system of surveillance you accidentally agreed to. When a woman micromanages, it often comes from two sources: insecurity or the instinct to take charge when she senses a leadership vacuum. If you comply, allowing her to monitor your location, police your schedule, question every purchase, or scroll through your messages, you reinforce the dynamic that erodes attraction over time. Here's what men forget: the more a woman has to manage you, the less she can admire you. The more she monitors, the less she trusts. The more she controls, the less she respects the man living in that space. Women are not drawn to someone they can control. They are drawn to someone they can lean on. Micromanagement reshapes your identity quietly. You lose initiative, hesitate before making decisions, police your own actions to avoid conflict, and operate like a man expecting consequences rather than directing his life. That subtle shift kills attraction faster than any argument ever could. A strong man doesn't react with anger, he reacts with clarity. He defines privacy, transparency, and respect, and he communicates it calmly, without apology. No woman truly desires a man she can control. She desires a man who knows where he's going, with or without her approval. Number 5, never lie to make her feel better. Women sense the difference between truth and flattery as clearly as we sense the difference between respect and tolerance. When you sugarcoat reality to avoid discomfort, you slowly dismantle her trust. Men lie out of fear of conflict, fear of hurting her, fear of losing harmony. But women don't lose respect because you tell the truth. They lose respect because you are too afraid to. Complimenting what you don't believe in or ignoring habits that harm the relationship isn't kindness, it's weakness. Women are acutely attuned to emotional inconsistencies. They notice if an outfit doesn't suit her, if her behavior drifts towards self destruction, or if you silently condone patterns that undermine both of you. Once she realizes you distort reality to maintain peace, she stops relying on your words. Truth doesn't require cruelty, it requires backbone. Deliver it with steadiness, not irritation. Call out patterns that are harmful, including lack of discipline, disrespect, and unhealthy habits, from a place of clarity. A man who speaks the truth consistently becomes her grounding force. A man who hides behind lies becomes noise, easily tuned out. Number 6. Never normalize girls' nights out without boundaries. Independence is attractive but unstructured. Frequent nights out with friends who thrive on attention, impulse, and disregard for consequences can subtly shift a woman's mindset. The environment shapes behavior, and without clear boundaries, the energy she steps into bleeds into your relationship. This isn't about controlling her life, it's about mutual respect. Establish what aligns with your relationship and what doesn't. Define what commitment looks like inside and outside your shared space. A man with standards brings clarity. A man without standards invites chaos. When boundaries are resisted, it's not partnership she seeks, it's freedom without responsibility. Number 7. Never choose her over your purpose. Nothing erodes a man faster than abandoning the very thing that defines him. Countless men shrink their ambitions, delay goals, and rearrange their future for someone who never asked for the sacrifice and likely wouldn't respect it. A woman may enjoy temporary attention, but attraction diminishes when she realizes she outranks your direction. A man without purpose becomes reactive, emotionally dependent, and easier to sway. He responds to her moods, her schedule, her desires, while his identity fades into the background. Purpose is the backbone of masculinity. It's the structure a woman leans on. When you abandon it, you signal that emotions can pull you off course, rendering you unreliable, not romantic. She may enjoy the attention at first, but she senses the hollowness beneath it. The lack of fire, ambition, and challenge becomes palpable. A man who honors his purpose while respecting the relationship doesn't just attract admiration, he inspires it. He demonstrates that commitment and drive can coexist, creating a magnetic balance that women are instinctively drawn to. Compromise, yes, but not at the cost of your foundation. When purpose leads, attraction follows. When it falters, so does respect. And instead of feeling cherished, she'll feel responsible for the void you created. A man doesn't become irreplaceable by orbiting a woman. He becomes irreplaceable by building a life she admires, a life she wants to join, not control. When you choose your path over temporary comfort, you elevate yourself. You become a force she respects because you refuse to betray your own potential. Your purpose isn't competition. It's the foundation that makes you worth following. And the moment you sacrifice it to keep her close, you guarantee she'll drift away. Women don't fall in love with men who disappear into them. They fall in love with men who remain rooted in something larger than the relationship itself. Number 8. Never cancel important commitments for her. A woman will test the weight of your word long before she tests the depth of your feelings. And nothing exposes weakness faster than abandoning responsibilities simply because she's upset, bored, or seeking attention. I'm not talking about true emergencies, those are different. I'm talking about meetings, projects, obligations to others that you set aside to soothe temporary discomfort. The moment you do that, you teach her your life bends easily. Women watch how a man treats his commitments. They notice how he honors his schedule, keeps promises, and shows up when he says he will. Those traits signal reliability, stability, and leadership. But if she sees you drop everything at the first hint of her discomfort, she doesn't interpret it as devotion. She sees lack of structure, discipline, and backbone. Unconsciously, she assigns you a new role: emotional concierge. You become the man who reshapes himself to regulate her emotions. That is not love, it is self erasure. Over time, resentment builds on both sides. She may resent your weakness. You may resent the sacrifices you made unnecessarily. A strong man doesn't abandon commitments. He organizes them, communicates them, honors them, and makes space for his relationship without replacing the rest of his world. The world only takes a man seriously if he takes himself seriously first. Number 9. Never pretend to like her passions. One of the fastest ways a man loses his identity is by forcing himself to enjoy everything she loves. On the surface, it looks supportive and sweet, but underneath, it sends a quiet message. You are willing to dissolve your individuality to stay close. A woman's passions are hers, not yours. Her hobbies, creative outlets, and personal pursuits define her. And when you imitate rather than maintain your own interests, you stop being the man she was drawn to and become a reflection of her own identity. Subconsciously, something shifts. A man without his own passions feels empty. He becomes predictable, overly available, and emotionally dependent on her validation. Attraction thrives on contrast. Your passions matter because they remind her you have a life beyond the relationship. You have direction, identity, and independence. A man who protects his interests and engages in his own world becomes someone she can admire, be curious about, and respect. Supporting her is healthy. Inheriting her world is not. A woman doesn't want a duplicate of herself. She wants a man who brings a world she can enter, not one who abandons his world to live in hers. Number 10. Never sign anything if you're not certain. Some decisions are reversible. Others alter the rest of your life with a single signature. Too many men sign under emotional pressure because she's crying, because family is present, because the moment feels tense. But 5 minutes of appearing heartless is nothing compared to living a lie for decades. Doubt is not disrespect, it's due diligence. Society often teaches men that asking for clarity makes them insensitive. That conditioning pushes them into choices rooted in guilt, not reality. The psychological cost of premature commitment is enormous. You risk financial, emotional, and legal burdens that shape your future permanently. Systems aren't designed to undo emotional mistakes made under pressure, they enforce them. Responsible men verify, they don't act impulsively. They refuse to let fear of judgment override the need for certainty. Commitment, particularly fatherhood, demands truth. A signature without certainty is not love, it's self sacrifice at the expense of your future. Before making a lifelong promise, ensure the life in question truly aligns with yours. Responsibility of this magnitude is sacred, and sacred things require proof. There's a pattern every man eventually recognizes. You don't lose power because a woman took it. You lose it the moment you abandon the parts of yourself that made you strong. Every role we've discussed points to this same truth: self-betrayal disguised as love. Ignoring betrayal, avoiding confrontation, overspending for validation, giving up your purpose, compromising responsibilities. These are choices that dissolve identity. And no woman respects a man who disappears inside a relationship. Not because she's cruel, but because respect is built on structure, boundaries, and identity. When those collapse, attraction collapses with them. What you've seen in these 10 lessons isn't a list of restrictions, it's a framework, a blueprint for protecting your mind, your integrity, and your future. Every decision, standard, and boundary shapes how the world responds to you, including the woman you share your life with. Strength isn't loud, aggressive, or controlling. Strength is the quiet discipline of refusing to negotiate your values to keep someone close. It's the clarity to say, "This is who I am," and "This is the line." When you live like that, a woman doesn't feel limited, she feels safe, knowing you won't crumble under pressure or reshape yourself to fit inside her emotions. Before you leave this video, identify one pattern you've been tolerating, one place where you've been shrinking. Make a decision, not loud, not dramatic, but final. The kind a man makes when he's done abandoning himself. Protecting your standards doesn't lose women, it loses chaos. And the right woman will meet you at the level you hold, not the level you fall to. If this opened your eyes, take a second to engage. Like, share, and subscribe. Do it as a commitment to becoming a stronger man than you were yesterday. And tell me in the comments, which truth hit you the hardest today?